Hey everybody, we're back again. Garrett and Todd, ready to lead you guys in another time of worship. Uh, Today we are celebrating Good Friday. We're celebrating the sacrifice that Christ made for us. It's the reason why we're here today to worship. So we'd like to invite you guys at home to sing along with us. How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss! The Father turns His face away at His wounds which mar the chosen one. Bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon a cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. But this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of There's such love and sorrow in me. O'er thorns composed, so rich a crown. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross bids me come and die and find that I may truly live. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross. All who gather here by grace draw near and bless your name. Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross. It's me come and die and find that I may truly live. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross. All who gather here by grace draw near and bless your name. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross bids me come and die and find that I may truly live. Oh, the wonderful cross. Oh, the wonderful cross. All who gather here by grace draw near and bless your name. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all.
That's such a truth, especially on a day that we celebrate like this, Good Friday, where Jesus went to the cross for us. And when you read that account of Jesus, the day, the night that he's rested the night before, all the way leading up into the day that he's physically hung on the cross and just hangs there and hangs there and hangs there for hours and hours, and God forsakes him. Well, God says that he'll never leave us or forsake us, but he did forsake his son so that he could accept us in turn. And so, Charles Spurgeon has a great quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says that God looked upon Christ in such a way that when he looks at Christ, he sees my sin, and because of that, when he looks at me, he sees Christ's atonement. And we celebrate that this week, and that's what we're celebrating this Good Friday, that he went to the cross for us and bore our sin and our shame so that we could forever live with God. So just invite you to this one more song here. This is Jesus Paid It All. We're going to sing this. He really did pay it all, so join in. I hear the Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me thine all in all. paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Lord, now indeed I find my power in thine alone can change the leper's spots and melt this heart of stone. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. And when before the throne I stand in him complete, Jesus died my soul to save, my lips shall still repeat. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised his life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised his life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised his life up from the dead. Jesus. Oh, Jesus, we come before your throne. You died on the cross and you sit eternally upon your throne. And right now it's Friday. But we know, Father, that Sunday is coming, and Jesus, that you will come out of the grave and that you will rise again victorious, and we will sing in that victory on Sunday morning together. We thank you for your sacrifice of blood upon the cross. You were the final sacrifice, and because of that, we can come to God directly with unveiled face, unashamed, and forgiven. We thank you for that, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Hey, welcome church family and friends to a special time together for Good Friday. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to encourage you, if you don't have the app, you want to download that real quick. Some things we're going to talk about, kind of the devotions we're going to go through, those are going to be posted on the app. They're going to be under the Sunday tab, the Sermon Notes tab, and you'll see a thing there for Good Friday devotions. You're going to see a thing there for Easter Sunday devotions. And it'd be a lot easier if you have access to that. So I'll give you maybe a moment here. You can even pause the video if you have to. Download that app and get there on the app and get ready. Because here's the plan. Here's what's been on my heart, even before all this madness, was to spend some time on a Good Friday looking at 3 prayers from the cross. And then I want to follow that up by looking at 3 promises from an empty tomb. You're going to see that video this Resurrection Sunday. So you got to stay tuned for the second part of this. And really the goal and the hope here is that this is more of a time of devotion with those who are around you. Really that it is a time of even another sermon from Pastor Matt. I want to lead you guys just in some thoughts and some prayers and some discussion, again, from the cross and from some of the words we hear Jesus say on the cross. So if you have the opportunity, go on the app, pull this up, follow along. You'll see the words on the screen here in a moment when we get to a prayer pause for you to kind of interact together. And so I hope you take advantage of that time as well. So again, we're going to look at this evening, just real brief, 3 prayers from the cross. The first one we're going to look at, prayer number 1, comes from Luke 23:34. And this is something we're all fairly familiar with. We've probably heard this before. This is Jesus on the cross, and he cries out, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And if you think about what's going on the cross, what is Jesus' singular focus? What's his purpose for being up there? It's the redemption of mankind. And as he is on that cross, he is concerned for you and for me. And think about who's around him even at that time, right? You've got the Pharisees who've lied about him, right? You've got the crowd who decided to release a murderer instead of him, right? You've got guards all around the cross who mock him, and they're taking what's left of his possessions and dividing them up. And those are the people, those are the things surrounding him. And to be honest, we fit into one of those categories, or maybe all those categories. At some point in our life, we've denied him, we've lied about him, we've mocked him. And yet as Jesus is on the cross, his thoughts, his prayer here is forgiveness for you and for I, and for all those people, right, who are around him, around that cross. His heart is that the Father would forgive them, delay punishment, delay judgment, so the grace and mercy and the love displayed on the cross, and what we're going to talk about with the empty tomb, has opportunity to work in the lives of dead people. And you think about this word as well. At this moment, those people who surround the cross, and before any of us had that opportunity to know him, we were not only lost, but we were his enemies. Romans 5:10 says that when we were his enemies, Christ died for us. And you think about, he is taking our place, his enemy's place on the cross, so that we would have opportunity for redemption. And it's not even about avoiding punishment and death, but the end of that verse in Romans 5 talks about life, the life made available to us because of the work on the cross. And so as Jesus cries out, he's crying out for forgiveness, right, from the Father for you and for me, right, so that we would not suffer the consequences of our sin, but instead fall under the glorious and magnificent grace, mercy, and love of the Father. I'd like for you to take a moment now. You're going to see some questions, some things pop up on the screen, a prayer pause. I'd like for you to take that moment now and share these things. Kind of have a moment of devotion with your family, and then we'll continue on with prayer number 2. So prayer number 2. Prayer number 2 comes from the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. Jesus cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" I think it's important for us to fully understand what made the gift of grace possible. We talked about, again, that forgiveness already. We talked about being able to accept that gift of grace and walk in that new life. But what makes it possible for us? Isaiah 53:6 says, "All we like sheep have gone astray. we have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. In the second prayer, we get a powerful picture of really the true torment for Jesus on the cross. It's been a terrible beating, right? Physically, this is just it's ravaged his body, and the humiliation, right? That's what the Roman cross was meant to inflict, right? Maximum damage, physically, emotionally, mentally. But I think for Jesus, the most savage part of the cross was that for the first time, he felt separation from the Father. Right? My God, why have you forsaken me? And why was that? Right? Because he took upon himself our sin. And sin separates. Sin isolates. Sin keeps us from God. We were dead and lost in our sins, separated from God. And that's the consequence of sin. And without Christ, without his grace, it's the eternal consequence of sin. Sin keeps us separated. And Jesus, for the first time, takes on that consequence for us. When we were dead and didn't know any better, he took it on for us so that we could know the Father for the first time. Those of you who've walked with God any length of time, right, and you've experienced the richness of his grace, mercy, and love, what would it feel like now to be cut off from the Father? I would hope you could think about that and say that would be a terrible experience, to be separated from God. Right? Not to be connected with him, not to know him anymore. Now, luckily, we don't have to worry about that. God's promises are good, and they're solid, and they're strong. But here is what Jesus endures on your behalf, on my behalf, as he prays and he calls out to the Father, I've been forsaken. You've turned from me. I'm carrying now the sin of the world. But he does this out of love. And he does this so that we wouldn't have to be separated anymore, so we could be reconciled back to an amazing God who loves us. Again, you're going to see there on the screen another opportunity for a prayer pause. I hope you take this opportunity with those who are around you. Go ahead and do it now. Prayer number three. Prayer number three comes from Luke 23, verse 46. It says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And when I think about that prayer, what's happening? What is this prayer telling us about Jesus on the cross? What's his example for us? And I'd say this is complete and absolute trust. All throughout Jesus' earthly ministry, even as he goes to the cross, as he hangs on the cross, and now as his physical life here on this planet comes to an end, he had complete faith and trust in the Father's plan. And he submits himself to that. He knows that what he is enduring and what is happening is for our good and for our benefit. And it's the Father's plan. It is his will. So again, so that those of us who are lost can be reconciled back to him. And even in death, and something that seems so final, right? Something that terrifies so many, Jesus says, I have complete trust in the Father. Psalm 33, 18 through 22 says, Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope in his mercy, to deliver their soul from death and to keep them alive in famine. Our soul waits for the Lord. He is our hope and our shield. For our heart shall rejoice in him, because we have trusted in his holy name. Let your mercy, O Lord, be upon us, just as we hope in you. I think about that verse. I think about trust. Again, about what Jesus is displaying on the cross as he cries out into the Father's hands. He commits his spirit. He knows exactly where he's going and what's going to happen, right? What the plan is. He trusts the Father, and we can trust the Father too with every aspect of our life, in every aspect of our death. We know that our soul, we know that our life, our very existence can be trusted in the hands of the Father. And what a great prayer, what a great encouragement in times like these, when things seem so uncertain, when things seem perilous, they seem dark, they seem, again, kind of insurmountable at times, kind of like death. But we can look up to the Father and say, we trust you. Our lives are in your hands, and we know that your plan is good and that you are faithful. Take time now to do that last prayer pause. Hey, I want to say thank you for joining us. This time was short. It was meant to be short. My hope is that your time together in this devotion is sweet and fruitful. Love you guys, and we'll see you on Resurrection Sunday morning.